Hello, hope you're all doing well. So I have made a breakthrough with my social anxiety and depression OCD. Woo! Thanks to someone on TikTok, and thanks to me explicitly talking about these issues. And yeah, I appreciate the help. This is what I mean. Like, people need to help each other with these kind of things, I think. So I was talking recently about my oppression OCD. I was focusing on racial aspects, and I'm also going to go into ableism and queer homophobia. And it's been something that I've been struggling with for ages. Basically, I've been like, I worry excessively, and I think about being oppressive, and I think that's causing its own problems, even though it's like more benign than to say, yeah, like fascist and stuff. Yes, but it's still a problem that I want to work on and like reduce. So anyway, it is also like social anxiety. I generally have a fear of hurting other people, not just like vulnerable people, but anyone really. So just in general, part of why I get so agitated is because I'm really worried about hurting people, and like therefore I just worry. I'm just like, don't hurt them, don't be a dick, like don't be ableist, don't be classist, don't be racist, don't be transphobic. And then I think that's causing me a lot of problems at the moment, which I've talked about recently. So yes, so I have made a breakthrough, and I think there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm excited that this has helped so much. So they said, my understanding is that setting oneself negative goals doesn't work because it increases the likelihood of what one is trying to avoid. That's what I agree with as well. It's been driving me insane. And that it is better to do the concentration on what one wants to do. So this has like drastically reduced my social anxiety and my oppression OCD, where now I'm just focusing on how I want folks to feel. So I want folks to feel loved and supported and appreciated, and I'm, instead of being like, don't hurt them, in my head, I'm like, I want to make them feel amazing, and I want to make them feel loved, and I want to make them feel calm, and I want to make them feel reassured, and I want them to make them feel good. And that has like totally transformed everything. So I'm happy, very happy, and sharing this in case you wanna do it yourself if you need to. Yeah. And yeah, I think one of the issues of having oppression OCD and struggling with obsessing about being anti-oppressive is that it makes people focus too much on people's identities, because there's lots more to people than their vulnerable identities as well. So in me trying to respond to like white supremacy and to this oppressive culture, by knowing about these areas and like working on these areas and stuff like that, I think the hyper focus has like therefore meant that I'm thinking too much of these identities. Obviously it's important in certain contexts, and to mention like when you're talking about trans issues, having a distinction between cis and trans people in conversation is really helpful for those kind of things. And if you hyper focus on that and think too much about it, then it can cause some of the problems that I've been experiencing. And like it also, you're reducing people to those identities, arguably at points. And so like there's much more to people than being autistic and or being queer and or being trans and or being people from the global racial majority and or being from working class or low class background and stuff like that. Like, not that that's not important, but it's all very different per person. Like for me, like being autistic is like a fundamental part of my identity, but and I do think categories are useful, but it's like paradoxical, like two things at once, right? Like I think there's dangers to hyper focusing on it in reducing people to those identities, when there's so much more to a person that like people miss. And that's also what the culture encourages people to do, and that's what we're trying to get away from, right? So I think this has been really helpful to help me to just focus on like a larger context of people as well, which I think everyone should do anyway. And it's just a shame for me that has caused some of those problems, I think.